Today I'm joined by Ruben
Yeah, there you go.
Tabares. He's an A-list celebrity for the likes of David Haye, Tiny Temper, P. Diddy, and many more. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Fabian. Good to see you again, my friend.
See you. Nice to see you. It's been a little while.
Yes, it's been a while.
I've got a few questions for you. How did you find the transition from being an athlete, training A-list celebrities?
It was kind of easy. I know that sounds like a mad thing to say, but basically, at the time I was training, like all the other athletes, we used to train together in East London. And I basically started breaking down a lot. I got ill for a while. This is before I met you. I attended, I went to see a few different doctors to see what was wrong with me, and they couldn't find out what was wrong. And eventually I found, after traveling the whole world, trying to find a doctor that could cure me, because I had some kind of mystery illness which no one could quite grasp. I found a doctor in the south of England who cured me with homeopathy and Chinese medicine, and that sparked my interest into all the stuff that I know today. So I became a nutrition, a dietitian, a sports therapist, strength and conditioning coach. I still continue to study now, because in my eyes, we can't ever have too much knowledge. So it was in knowing all of those things that I started helping different athletes in the athletics world. And eventually I came across David Haye, who was suffering with a couple of injuries at the time. He was cramping, he had a few issues, and I helped him get rid of all those things within about a month. And after that, he said, right, you're all going to come and work with me from now until I retire.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. We worked together he retired, but then he asked me to come back when he came back for different fights. And we've kind of been working together since 2008, something like that.
Okay, so it's been a little while.
Yeah, and then obviously because you're working with, you've helped someone become heavyweight champion of the world, lots of different people ask you for help.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, I heard or I read about this, that you helped David with this and that. And it also helped. I went to school with Tiny Temper's manager, Dumio Barota, and I bumped into him at the GQ Awards one year, and he said, oh, how you doing? Good to see you. We had a good chat. He said, I've got a young up-and-coming artist called Tiny Temper. I want you to work with him. He's really keen to work with you. He's really young. I think Tiny was 21 at the time. And I took Tiny on, and this has been when he was a relatively unknown artist.
Yeah.
And then obviously he's gone on to do massive things. And it's just kind of come like that. I get recommendations from different people. Sometimes I get Hollywood A-listers ringing my phone and saying, I got your number from this person. Wow. I'm coming to London. I'm not going to lie, I don't watch a lot of television. I watch a lot of sport, but not a lot of television. So sometimes I'm there furiously Googling who this person is that's called me. But on the whole, it's been a smooth transition, purely based on my experiences as a young man and what I had to learn and overcome to get to know all the things that I know today.
Okay. So what would your philosophy be for an athlete in terms, or a model? What's the difference, your philosophy in terms of training for them?
Well, it depends what kind of athlete you're talking about. You're talking about a sprinter or a footballer, a rugby player, a boxer?
So for instance, a boxer.
So for a boxer, okay, well, boxer's going to be doing completely different things to a model.
Yeah.
Are you talking male model or female model?
Female model.
Okay, female model. Because you see, now you start to understand, I'm very specific.
Yeah.
So with a female model, there are certain exercises that women shouldn't be doing the same as men.
Yeah.
We're in my yoga studio at the moment, but in my gym just across the hall, when I'm explaining to women why they can't train the same way as a man, and I break it down and start talking about the biomechanics of why they shouldn't train the same way and what happens physiologically, immediately makes sense to them.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, wow, okay, I completely understand that. And no one's ever explained that to me. So, but with boxing, it also depends on the weight class.
Yeah.
So when I was training Amir Khan, he was doing completely different exercises to David Haye. Some, like a squat, were similar. But in terms of reps, rest, the frequency of training sprints on the track, that kind of thing. Amir could run longer distances on the track, whereas David couldn't. In fact, we try and keep David away from the track and keep him on grass as he got older, because the body's gone through wear and tear. So you're trying to minimize the risk of injury. So in terms of how I would personally train a model, it is completely different to how I would train a boxer or any other athlete for that matter.
So your philosophy is based on the person?
Yes, I wouldn't really say I have a philosophy of training.
Yeah.
I don't like to pigeonhole myself
Yeah.
like that. In fact, I don't like to pigeonhole anybody.
Yeah.
I look at the person, the person who I'm looking at the time may have tight calves, and when they're performing a squat, that may mean that they're lifting their heels off the floor, and therefore I try to find a way to release the tension in their calves for them to be able to perform a squat in the right biomechanical way. And another person may have a lower back issue or tight hamstrings or a shoulder problem or whatever it is. And so you have to cater the training to that individual and also rehab them from whatever's caused that in the first place so that they can then move forward.
So I guess your history in the sports science as well as the massage therapy all helps.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why I wanted to learn, and I still continue to learn, as many different disciplines about the body as possible. So there was no good just being a strength and conditioning coach.
Yeah.
I needed to know how to do different types of massage. I wanted to know what happens to the body when it comes to nutrition. And that, to be honest, is one of the most important things. And it's taking me down a path which I originally hadn't envisaged.
Yeah.
And now if I'm going to work with someone, the first place or the starting point is always the nutrition.
Okay.
And then training will come after. So, for example, if I have I had a client who was very, very overweight, and he was astonished that we didn't start training for the first couple of weeks, 3 weeks. He was astonished that I got him to eat even more food. He was saying, "What are we doing?" I didn't know I was going to come to see you so I could eat more. But I was explaining to this gentleman that basically when your body's taking on board the right nutrition and your cells start to communicate, you can basically do star jumps on the spot and you're going to lose weight.
From eating the right
food, from detoxing your body, because there's no point in trying to lose weight if your body's not fully detoxed.
So you basically just answered my next question. My next question was, how would you advise someone to lose weight?
Again, the starting point, even before we look at nutrition, is you look at water.
Okay.
So are they taking on board enough water? Because if they're not, then losing weight is going to be an uphill struggle from the start. So are they taking on board enough water? Normally, I'd say around about 3 liters more, but then I would have to be monitoring the person. But as an average rule to everybody out there, 3 liters is about a good enough starting point to hydrate the body enough to be able to start to detoxify and lose weight.
Yeah, I remember when we was training, that was the one thing that you always used to say to me.
Yeah.
Drink your water, get on top of your water intake.
Yeah, because, when a baby's born, this varies from baby to baby, etc. But let's say it goes up to about 90%. So when a baby's born, it's around 90% water.
Yeah.
When you reach adulthood, you're about 75% water. And when you die, you're 50% water. So most of your life, you're water. Most of your life, you're fighting dehydration.
Yeah.
And hydration is of vital importance to the longevity of your life, the quality of it. And also the type of water that you're taking on board as well is very important. So tap water is just not going to do. It's just not going to cut it, because tap water, unfortunately, today has a whole bunch of different things which society, like plastics, and if a woman's on the on the pill, and she's taking contraceptives, those hormones will be in the water. When there's all of these things, and there's simple and cost-effective ways of dealing with those things, like having a water filter. I have a water filter system in my house, in the showers as well. I change it probably every 9 months. It costs £100. Some people might think I'm not going to put a water filter in my house. That costs £100. But if you think of it per shower and what it's doing to you, because you absorb a lot of things through your skin, then you're eliminating toxicity, you're eliminating heavy metals, you're eliminating a lot of things which are going to add to the quality of your life, especially as you get older. Because when we were young athletes, and a lot of young people think this way, oh, it's fine, I can have this and I can have that, I can do this and that, because they're not thinking about their longevity, or I'm going to turn 40 or 50 or 80.
You're not thinking about that.
No, you're not thinking about that at all. Exactly. So, when you were 16, 17 years old, how old are you now?
33 now.
33, exactly. You never thought you were going to be 33.
No.
Yeah, and here you are. You're going to turn 63. Hopefully you will get to that age, very healthy, etc. But you're going to turn 63, whether you want to or not. So you might as well, when you get to turn 63, have done things and put things in place so that you get the healthiest you can possibly be. And it's not very hard. It's just about having the right information in order to get you from A to B in the right way.
Okay. So what's your take on the personal training industry and fitness industry at the moment?
Well, you kind of answered the question that with your question, which is the fitness industry or the personal training industry. It's an industry. So I'm very lucky that I had a strength and conditioning coach called Peter Marcosiano, who, in my opinion, the man is an absolute genius. He was working with David Haye since the age of 16. And when I was looking for a strength and conditioning coach to help me get to the next level, and I did my research, and I like my research, I found this guy, and by far and away he was the best. I can't stress, I don't like to call people geniuses, but this guy is an absolute genius. And every time I was training with him, and for example, I got sent a power plate. So Power Plate sent me a power plate. They said, here you go, can you have this? And just tell people that you're using it and all the rest of it. I think it was £12,000 at the time. This was years ago when Power Plate first came out. I've never turned it on. It's still sat at my mum's house. I'll pick it up soon, Mum, I promise. It's still sat at my mum's house in the spare bedroom, and it's just gathering dust like it always has. And then the power plate got replaced by, I think it was TRX or something like that. And it's basically every year, so every January, there'll be someone writing a book, although I'm going to be one of those people soon. Every January, there's someone writing a book, there's a new equipment coming out, people join the gym and never go. It's basically, it's an industry that makes people feel better about them proactively doing something, whether they see it through or not. And I understand why people need personal trainers, because more than anything, they want to go to a trainer that has knowledge, And I'm not just saying this because you're an ex-athlete and I was an ex-athlete, but I always find that the best trainers are always people who have done a high level of sport, because they've had injuries, they've had to rehab from those injuries, they've overcome obstacles, they've been doing that thing since they were probably 12, 13 years old, and they've done it throughout their whole life, trained twice a day, 6 days a week, and they've had to eat the right food, and they've experimented on themselves, this works, this doesn't work. So whether they're a nutritionist or not, they will have some understanding of what a person needs to do. Less so impressed with people who are in an office and then they think, I'm going to go and take a 6-week course and I'm going to become a personal trainer. And I can then go and tell people what they should be doing in order to be, I'm sure there will be good trainers as well, but from my personal experience, because I hire a lot of personal trainers, they don't really know what it takes, and they don't understand, because some of them might be quite young, that the personal training industry churns out new things every year. And so going back to Pete, every time something came up, he would say to me, oh, I saw that 20 years ago, or I saw that 30 years ago. That was around when I was a kid, and now they've come back, they've packaged it in a different way, and they're reselling it. And that tends to happen a lot. And I tend to try and stay away from those things. And the people who I work with are knowledgeable, because I try and give them as much knowledge as possible. So whether they're with me or they're not, or we've done our phase of training and they move on or they move abroad, they will always take that information and they will know, this is not the right way to do things. This is the right way to do things. This has made me feel like this, and this has made me feel great, and that not so much. I've never gotten injured doing this kind of thing, so I shall continue to do something similar. So it's just about information, and I'm not too enamored with the fitness industry. I think it is what it is. I do like the fact that there are a lot of people doing good things to get people moving, etc., and to get them motivated. And Instagram has been a very, very good way of people looking at pictures and saying, oh, I want to look like that and I want to do this. However, and I have to stress this, and I've never really said this out loud, but a lot of the things that you look at, or a lot of the pictures, when people look at Instagram pictures, they've been doctored. A lot of the Instagram athletes, I call them Instagram athletes, if you can call them that, they are on drugs, they're on steroids, and so they look amazing, but we can spot a person who's been on steroids before. We were in that industry. You could always tell when someone came out flying and you've been training for 10 years and you've not quite reached those times yet, and someone's done it within a year. Possibly they were more talented than us, Fabian. Who knows? No, but seriously, it's very important for people to understand that those people also have a responsibility not to lie to people and to say, okay, this can be done naturally, but then do it naturally. Don't go on. So there's pros and cons about the fitness industry. I am more in favor of it than not, but there are certain things which, like I said, I'm not too enamored with.
Okay. So that goes into my next question about supplements. Mm-hmm. What's your take on supplements also?
Well, when I was an athlete, I used to take a lot of supplements because that's what all athletes did. In fact, there was a point when I was taking so many supplements, and who had recommended them? The UK sport nutritionist. For those of you who don't understand what that means, it's just when you start to run fast enough, you get help from the lottery, and you get help from UK sport. What's the other one?
I can't remember any.
England Athletics. So the British Olympic Association. So you start to be on their radar. So they start, okay, come in. now you qualify for this type of help, etc. And I was getting advice from one of their nutritionists, and they would say, okay, you have less energy, so take this supplement, and you need to take protein because you're breaking down muscles, and you need to take carbohydrate on board, and vitamin C, etc., etc. What I've discovered through my own research, not when I became a nutritionist or a dietitian, it wasn't then, it was through my own research, I've discovered that supplements don't really work. They are, again, the supplement industry is a huge industry, and that's why I prefer to give people superfoods. I prefer to give people foods that have come from natural sources. So if you need to take protein, hemp seeds, bee pollen has 3 to 4 times per gram more protein than beef, chicken, and eggs. So I prefer to give them natural foods that the body will recognize, but they're called a superfood because they're just full of nutrition. When I was taking all of those supplements as a young man, I would jump up and down. You could hear me rattling from the amount of pills. And what I've discovered is they don't really work. For example, if you're taking vitamin C, ascorbic acid, it's one of 8 molecules. So if you look at natural vitamin C under the microscope, from a lemon, for example, or from a pepper, it's got 8 different molecules attached together. Ascorbic acid is one. It's the outside ring. It's got the 7 other molecules inside of it missing. And it's on the outside because it acts as a preservative. And that's why they add it to apple juice, etc., because it preserves the apple juice. When you buy vitamin C as ascorbic acid, it's not really vitamin C. It's like the same as if I gave you an eggshell without the egg and said, here you go, Fabian. There's an egg. You've got an eggshell, you've got part of an egg, but the egg is missing. So when I discovered all of these things, and that's just one example, then you start going into isolated minerals like calcium. When people have osteoporosis, I just saw a whole bunch of people last week who were from America, and they said they had osteoporosis problems, the beginning of osteoporosis, full set osteoporosis, and they were all on calcium tablets. And we don't have time to go into the whole science of why you shouldn't really be doing that. But what I was explaining is your bones are made up of 12 different minerals, not just calcium. Calcium is called the king mineral because it carries all the other minerals into the bone, but it's not the only mineral, because if our bones were made out of calcium, they'd be basically chalk. So they will break really easily. But they've got collagen and iron and magnesium and the whole bunch of 12 different minerals. So I prefer to have a green leafy vegetable like broccoli, kale, spinach, spirulina, chlorella. There's many different sources, and you find all of those minerals in the correct proportions that you need to take on board for your bones. So I prefer to do that rather than take isolated supplements, because then you start running into problems with imbalances in your body, and that causes a whole bunch of other issues as well.
So in terms of pre-workout meals, what would you eat for a gym session, for instance?
It depends. So me personally, okay, so I don't eat before a gym session.
Okay. And then or post-workout then?
So post-workout, it depends what I've done.
Okay.
So if I'm building muscle, for example, let's just say I'm building muscle. I never build muscle.
Same.
Yeah, because it's pointless. But say I'm building muscle. I would have carbohydrates with some protein and some vegetables. And people might be surprised to hear that with carbohydrates you build muscle, but you do. So
I know that already.
Yeah. So basically, if I was trying to get leaner, I wouldn't have any carbs, or have minimal carbs, and I would have more protein and vegetables. When I was an athlete, the majority of my meals would be carbohydrate, because I'm trying to hydrate my muscles, and put as much glycogen back into my muscles for the next session, and for me to be able to recover as possible. So it just depends. Same as when I have different clients, they have different goals, so their meals are all different.
Okay.
So just, yeah. So before a gym workout, I never eat.
You never eat?
No. I think it comes from the days when I never used to eat as an athlete, because I discovered that, say, for example, one of my favorite sessions, and you can tell with the sarcasm in my voice that it wasn't, one of my favorite sessions was 300 meters.
Where was that, in the forest or in the track?
It doesn't matter. It all hurts the same way. So if I ate before that session, I would be throwing up.
Yeah.
And you know that.
Yeah.
So I just decided that I would drink water and not eat. And then my stomach wouldn't be dealing with any kind of digestion, which means that there wouldn't be any blood, that all the blood would be going to my muscles. So there would be no need for my body to get rid of whatever is being digested at the time.
Yeah.
So, and then I would eat afterwards. So I found that worked for me instead of, there were a few times when I was training with Linford Christie in South Africa, where I remember a couple of occasions where I thought the session was far enough away that I could eat. I ate and I threw up very, very hard. Those 2 times in my life I remember very, very vividly. So yeah, I don't eat before a session.
You was renowned for the throwing up.
Yes, I was. And that also stems from having an ability to push myself harder than most people.
Yeah, true.
You remember, I used to train harder than anyone. And in my mind, the training started when the pain began. Mm-hmm. And now I have a 12-year-old son, and with him, I tell him that, because he also has an ability to push himself. Maybe it's genetic, I don't know. But he has me telling him, back off, that's enough. Or today's session, you're not going to tax your central nervous system, because tomorrow you might have a speed session. So there's no point in taxing your central nervous system, because you'll be shot for tomorrow's speed session. And it's giving him that understanding and pulling him back and teaching him that there are many different ways to train and to progress and to look at an overall picture throughout the whole year. And he's lucky he's got me with all that knowledge and understanding. So he's already, at 12 years old, gathered probably about 20, 30 years of knowledge. And there's still more layers for him to discover. So does he take over Ruben Tabares' fitness? I don't know. I don't think so. He's very much into his nutrition. He understands exactly what he's doing. He's very, very body aware, so he's very, very in tune with what makes him feel good, what doesn't make him feel good. He's never had McDonald's, he's never had KFC, he's never had Nando's.
This is at the age of 12.
And this is at the age of 12. He's never had a fizzy drink. He likes fizzy water, but he's never had a fizzy drink. It's just like a normal kid. So when he goes to a birthday party, he'll have a piece of cake. But he won't eat all the other rubbish that's there. And he understands this because to date he's never lost a race. So what did he run? At 11 years old, he ran 12.83 for 100.
It's pretty rapid.
It's quite quick. But that's without training. I don't train him.
Okay.
I don't train him because he's still too young.
So it's just the food?
It's just the food. And so he'll play rugby at school, he'll play football, he's on a special football program, he's doing really well. All of the sports that he does, he's getting things from those sports because he's eating well, so he's recovering really well. I think one of the things which I didn't talk about when you asked me about the fitness industry was the amount of high intensity sessions that people do on a daily basis. If we want to, we can talk about that. It's just basically all to do with food. So we had an ability to push ourselves, but maybe not until my later days when I joined Linford Christie, not the coaches in between that had that level of experience, and obviously they weren't Olympic champions, so they couldn't really understand what it takes to make it, recovery, all that kind of stuff. So it was very, very, very helpful for me to join Linford, though it was towards the end of my career, because I did learn a lot.
Yeah. So what does the future hold for you?
Lots of different, very exciting things. I am writing a book, but it's going to be with a difference. I found every single book I've read has never actually given you any real information about how to carry things forward, and to have a real deep understanding of, after you've read the book, right, this is a plan and this is how I'm going to move forward. And that's always what has been lacking from most of the books I've read. And I'd want to write a book that gives people a real sense of knowledge and understanding about what it is that I've been trying to get across.
So it's going to be nutrition?
It's going to be about nutrition, training, lifestyle, what you should be doing in order to be successful. From a nutritional and training point of view. I'm also hopefully going to be doing some other things which I can't talk about yet, but we can revisit this. All to do with health and nutrition and that kind of thing, which I'm really excited about. And then just continuing to work with the people I work with, and continue to... I'm also running a special program with kids in North London who are all footballers, and I've given them all their strength and conditioning programs to see how they develop over the course of the year. Also, we're going to be doing speed, mobility, agility training with them, and that children, because of my children, fascinate me. And it takes me into that realm. So there's loads of different exciting things.
Okay, brilliant. Right, we're going to do a quick round of 1 minute.
Okay.
One word answers.
So, can I think about it, or do I have to?
You got maybe about 5 seconds.
Oh, okay, that's more than enough time. Yeah.
David Haye versus Anthony Joshua. Will it happen?
Yes, I hope so.
Okay. Sprinters or boxers?
Boxers.
Sporting idol?
Michael Johnson.
Broccoli or kale?
Kale.
Gym or track?
No, gym.
Bolt or Jesse Owen?
Jesse Owens.
Could you beat me over 30 meters?
Right now?
Right now.
I reckon I could, yeah.
All right, let's go for it. We'll put this on video one day.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll do that. Going back to broccoli or kale, why kale?
It just has more nutrition than broccoli. Okay. Broccoli was man-made.
Okay.
Broccoli's man-made.
And kale comes from the grass.
Kale's an original.
Okay. Yeah, because I had a few questions about that recently.
Okay. I
couldn't answer it, so I want to hear from you.
Yeah, no. It's the same as when I eat carrots. I try and eat carrots that old school carrots. So like purple, the darker variety of carrot, because orange carrots were also man-made.
Okay.
They were made in Holland to match the Dutch flag. Wow. So I like looking at the history of food and what's not been messed around with, etc., etc. That's why when I have flour, if I'm going to have flour, I'll never have wheat flour. Okay. I'll always have spelt or buckwheat. It's really hard to find the original flours now, but rye bread, if I'm going to have any bread, I'll have rye bread. But I try and stay away from flour in general because of the gluten.
I seen something on your Twitter maybe a couple years ago actually, about bananas. You have you only eat the bananas with the spots on it. Yes. Why is that? I can't remember what you said on there, but
it just develops. Riper bananas have a different. It's different in terms of nutrition.
Yeah.
There's a nutritional value. The green bananas are not, you're not supposed to eat them.
Yeah.
I know people like the harder the banana, they
yeah.
like it, but it's not ripe. So the sugars haven't developed and manifested themselves properly. And it's better for your immune system. Yeah. Well,
for you.
For me, well, in terms of nutrition, that's 100% true. Okay. But I just can't eat green bananas.
Okay.
I had a friend not long ago who I was walking with him, and he said, I'm just going to pop in and get a banana. And he came out, and I looked at the banana, and it looked really green to me. And I just let him get on with it. And I looked over, and he had like a real frothy mouth.
Wow.
And so I said, what's wrong with you? And I looked, and he wasn't eating a green banana, he was eating a green plantain. A green one. And so he said, oh, I always eat these things, but sometimes I get constipated. I said, that's not banana. So I found that really hilarious. Oh, wow. I was laughing at him for ages.
All right, Ruben, it was a pleasure.
Fabian, thank you very much.